Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we always say supply demand rule the day. It's so important to be in commodities or anything for that matter, where there's a massive supply demand imbalance. And that's why I'm so excited today to talk with Ark Mines, because it's an upcoming IPO. But more importantly, or as importantly, should I say, there is a massive supply demand imbalance in their commodities that they're focusing on. In fact, Jeff Curry, leading II analyst from Goldman Sachs today, just discussed the iron ore and copper deficits and how prices could be heading higher. Anyway, with that introduction, enough with me. Welcome, Roger Jackson, Benjamin Emery. Welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets, guys.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Roger, Benjamin, whichever one of you wants to go first, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get to where you are today?
Sure. I'm a geologist. I've been in the mining industry for nearly 30 years now. Been in all the components of mining, from exploration through to mine operations, and had a lot of experience in developing companies and taking projects into production. And in recent years have been managing some mining operations in Australia, and developing those projects through to commercialization.
And Benjamin, what about you?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Greg. I've been involved with taking iron ore projects in North Queensland from greenfields through to producing operations. Basically, my last position with Tablelands Mining Group as CEO.
Great. And then, turning more towards Ark, and Benjamin, maybe can I direct this question at you first? Ark, the assets there, can you just discuss the projects and also just touch on your history with them, because you've actually had a long history with these projects, and also, and maybe as a separate question, I'll get to that, is about Queensland, but let's start out with Ark.
Yeah, sure. Okay, with regards to the projects themselves, being active in iron ore in North Queensland over the last sort of 13 years, we came across a number of projects, and these three particular stood out, and we, me and myself and my company, acquired them, put them into the portfolio with the intention of developing them at some point. So we've invested ourselves, our money into the projects to get them to the point now. We're excited by them and looking forward to development with Ark.
Right. And, I guess specifically the Mount Jess project, firstly, can you just tell us, what drew you to it? Because obviously you have a lot of experience in North Queensland, but what was specifically about Mount Jess that you liked?
Okay, at the time we were developing iron ore, small skarn deposits in the area. We saw Mount Jess as quite a substantial outcrop of iron ore. The grades were good, and we always, it's one of those stories you hear about, and finally we got the chance to see it and had to have it. We walked across it. It's a significant outcrop, as I mentioned. Half the hill is sort of copper oxide, quite green in color. The other half is the high grade iron ore, and it sort of pops its head out across the EPM, and we followed it up with some high intensity ground magnetics, and yeah, quite an interesting result, because with what you see coming out of the ground, in parallel with that, there's actually quite a significant magnetic high that runs to over 3 kilometers. So there's a couple of things, what you can see and what you can't see there. So yeah, it's an interesting prospect.
Yeah, and also just drilling in a little bit more, you mentioned it's high-grade iron ore. In the market today, what is so important about being a high-grade product as opposed to a low-grade product?
Sure. I guess these small skarn, high-grade skarns, generally indicate, a higher grade 40 plus. Some of the rock chips we've got there are 63, 64. So there is elements of DSO, but collectively it makes for an easy recovery and a dry process in most terms. So you can actually crush it down and recover it with a dry magnetic process rather than a wet process.
Right. And obviously, look, we're obviously all in it to make a buck. That's so important, is it right? Not only from a processing point of view, but also can you just lead on to the infrastructure that's in the area? In other words, just walk us through
Sure.
the journey from the ground out the door, so to speak.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're lucky because there's a port of Marillion Harbour, which is south of Cairns and north of Townsville, which has infrastructure, and that's where we historically loaded our iron ore through. So we know it's a proven port. It's got an approved stockpile, iron ore stockpile laydown area down there. There's other laydown areas available. So the port utilisation is key here. So it's a very accessible port, heaps of capacity. It's 140 kilometres approximately down the range. So yeah, it's a good logistics solution, and that's the key with iron ore, right?
I was going to ask you, is that one of the attractions to Mount Jess, is the fact that it's all well and good to have a high grade product, but how do you actually monetize it?
Yeah, that's everything, right? With bulk commodities, and definitely with iron ore, it's all logistics. So in this case, it has the big tick. You've got grade, you've got recovery, and you've got a logistics solution, which makes sense.
And also, Ben, what would be your definition of success there, say, over the next 12 to 24 months? What would make you happy?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of opportunities with that deposit. One is the iron ore, which we've spoken about, and we'll be fast tracking that to market. Roger and I have spoken about our timeline, and look, that's achievable within next 12 months to 2 years. We certainly should be well and truly in production. The copper oxide, or the copper story, is something that we'd love to explore further. There's a copper oxide plant turning on first quarter of next year, first or second quarter of next year. That they are looking for feed. There is a good opportunity to send our copper across to process relatively nearby. I mean, you've got to remember this, Mount Jess historically is actually a copper mine. So we're looking to sort of tread down those old paths and take that copper to process.
Right. And as I was mentioning in the introduction, copper, iron ore, two commodities that are tremendously in demand. And that's one of the key points for sure. And then can we just turn on to your Gunawara, the nickel cobalt project for a moment, if you mean? Sure.
Well, the Gunawara is again very well positioned near Mount Garnet. It's a lateralized cobalt nickel deposit. It's very visual. You can see the outcropping. We've done a lot of mapping. We've lined that up with the ground magnetics. It's an interesting play. We do surround Australian mines, to northern ML and MDL, which are both significant. Roger can probably talk us through those. But we like the story that Australian mines have done a great job and got their project to a point with, I think, still one of the most advanced cobalt nickel stories in Australia. This deposit offers potential partnerships future down the track. It also offers a potential DSO type of product in the market. Given our trading background, we have got some strong interest in the DSO. 1.5% nickel, 0.5 credits on the cobalt.
Yeah, and Roger, maybe we should turn it over to you now. Just as Benjamin, alluded to, can you just tell us what gets you so excited here?
Oh, look, when you get up there, Greg, you can walk the ground. You can see the material that you're going to be drilling out and resourcing up. It stands out in knobs across the terrain there, and then where it doesn't stand out in high relief, there's nodules or lumps of nickel material sitting on the ground. And look, if you were to look at that and then combine it or overlay it with the geophysics, we know we've got a big lump of this material undercover as well. So it's quite exciting to know that we've got a very prospective deposit to develop, and it's very simple.
Yeah, and what would be the next steps there? Again, what would happen? What are you looking for over the next 12 months? Call it.
Well, we like Mount Jess. This thing is exposed. It's very close to major and good infrastructure. So we would look to drill this deposit out just to resource it up and define the tonnes. We know grade, and we know our neighbours' resource, and we've got a good understanding of the metallurgy, and we've got a good understanding of the other minerals that are credits with the nickel, the cobalt. So we would take this through to a mining license and then through to commercialisation like Mount Jess.
Great. So to be clear, there will be activity and drilling coming up there, say, over the next 12 months.
Absolutely. We've
Okay.
earmarked that. That's where the money's going for the IPO, and this all well defined, and the targets are already there. We know what we're doing, and there's not really exploration here. This is definition drilling.
Okay, and that's, I think, important for the audience to know. It's definition drilling, critical element in the story for sure. And then turning it to either one of you again to your third project, the Plinth on Gold. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, it's an interesting gold porphyry deposit. We looked at the historical workings from malachite and the drilling history. We've done some rock chips at surface, and we're quite pleased with the results from the rock chips. So also, looking historically at the malachite drilling at some 42, 43 meters of gold intersects. We just think there's more to the picture. We want to follow it up, and something that is probably definitely our later focus.
Right. Hey, Benjamin, I'd like to turn the story now towards maybe the history of the company. We spoke about it a little bit beforehand. You have been involved in these assets in this location for a very long time. How do you view Ark going public, raising money, but it really is almost a continuation of the same story, would you say?
Yeah, look, it is. I mean, historically, I've always been very much private, and all our funding's been from internal sources. So this is an interesting change to that story, and we're looking forward to it. Pretty excited by it, actually. And I think we've got 3 great projects in North Queensland, very familiar territory, and between Roger and myself driving it, we've got a really good understanding of the area.
Yeah, and also in the way I see it is because you have been a private for so long, you're very focused on delivering an economic outcome, because that is, at the end of the day, how you earn a buck, so to speak. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%.
And, speaking of that, even though it's public, you're still going to have a very big incentive to get this thing going. Isn't that accurate as well?
That's right. No, yeah, I mean, we talked about the deal in itself by vending assets in. They're all escrowed and there's no money off the table. So I have to believe in the assets and Ark in its entirety. Yep.
Well, Benjamin, Roger, we really look forward to it. As I said, we love the fact that there's a huge supply-demand imbalance. And then, what I really like is you're an expert in your area, that you really know this area. You haven't just rocked up there. It's critically important because, getting through government regulations, all the little things, it's about execution, yep. execution, and execution, the way that we see it. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience?
Well, it's an exciting story. We're all excited. We're all invested. We've put a lot of effort into this. It's been a long, exciting journey. But now we're at the IPO stage. We're looking forward to seeing this come to fruition and moving the projects into commercialisation.
Ben, any closing thoughts for you?
Probably reinforce that comment for Roger. We are looking forward to commercialising these projects and so delivering results in a really hot market in all strategic minerals: nickel, cobalt, copper, and iron ore.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Very much looking forward to it. And also, we appreciate the opportunity of taking your private business public, so now we can benefit as well, Ben.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Greg. Bye.
Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.